some football. The Super Bowl was Sunday, and it was a rough night for Patty Mahomes in the Super Bowl. QBR of 1 in the first half and 11.4 overall for the majority of the game. He was running from pressure or just looked flustered from the pocket. He had arguably the worst playoff game of his career Sunday, as he had 3 turnovers, including a pick six, was sacked 6 times, the most he's ever taken in a game. All right, Shay, starting with you. And Jeff Saturday's here. We brought in a How are we doing? You think we should bring in Dwight
I was fired up. I thought they could bring Shaq back for a second. I mean, I was like, where are we? I feel you, Wendy. Poor Wendy's like, what in the world is going on? Bring Shaq back. Let's make it just a big body, 6 pounds. Let's make it happen.
Oh, my gosh.
Listen, ain't nobody talking about their game. You're talking about somebody who's healthy enough to run up and down the court, who's always been in shape, is a big body. And you don't need anything from him but 6 fouls.
That's it. 6
That's it. That's all I'm saying.
He can get us 8 rebounds and about 6 points. I love how y'all
I don't know if he could do that. I don't think it's needed.
Wendy. That's my favorite part. Y'all go at each other, and then when Wendy's in, he just go at him.
Nah. Wendy tried to
kill our vibe.
Yeah, don't kill my vibe. By the way, we look like a bunch of Easter eggs right now. My goodness.
Yeah,
right?
I'm all over the place.
What is happening right now in the middle of the winter? But anyway, I'm staying focused. Okay, Shannon.
Yes.
Obviously, we all know Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. There's Patrick Mahomes, and there's everybody else.
Correct.
But after that Super Bowl performance, did he take a step back in your eyes?
No, he didn't. I mean, he's still Patrick Mahomes. He's still one of the greatest quarterbacks to have ever played this ball game. I don't look at it like that. Look, Philly had a great game plan. They did an unbelievable job with that front four. When you can get after the quarterback with just your front four, and you don't have to sacrifice your back end and leave 7 in coverage, and that's what they were able to do. We knew that in order for Kansas City to have a chance, Saturday, you and I said it, the Eagles have the better team.
Yeah.
The only position that you could definitively say that the Chiefs are better is at the quarterback. Look at offensive line. Look at running back. Look at receivers. Look at DBs. Look at all that stuff. Okay, maybe McDuffie is better than Mitchell, but other than that, so maybe 2 positions that you could honestly say on the field, 3, maybe with Chris Jones, 3 positions that the Kansas City Chiefs are better than the Eagles. And the coach, obviously, Andy Reid is better than Sirianni. But other than that, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised at how quickly it got out of hand. Sure. But I don't look at Patrick Mahomes as like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes is not this unbelievable quarterback now. I don't look at it like that, Molly.
Yeah.
Maybe others do, but I still think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback. They had a great game plan. They did a great job of executing it, and they made him look bad. That's what happens when you put pressure regardless of the quarterback. Go back and study history. Yep. Al Davis, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. He had a famous quote, the quarterback must go down, and he must go down hard, and he needed to do it in the first couple of series. Yep. That's exactly what the Eagles did.
I do feel like they humanized him a slight bit, though.
Oh, he's been human. Did you not watch Tampa and what they did?
Yeah, that's true. This season, you're right. There were a lot of moments this season.
They couldn't run the ball.
Just on the biggest stage.
When you can't run the ball and you become one-dimensional, and you got a pass rush like Tampa had, like the Eagles had, this is what you get.
Stephen A?
You know, I love the conversation. And I was watching Get Up, and let me say this, I'm a team player, and I love Get Up. They do a great job. We can't ask for a better lead-in in the morning. They got on my damn nerves this morning. And I'm talking about the producers of the show, and I'm talking about participants on the show, including Jeff Saturday. Less about him, but more about Swagoo and Dan Graciano. Okay, let me tell you something, all right? First of all, you're going to quote me accurately, because I saw they played my quote from yesterday about, no, the GOAT status is gone. I'm talking about for the moment. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes has a lengthy career ahead of him. I'm saying for the foreseeable future, Jeff Saturday, because they didn't play that part. For the foreseeable future, the next 2 to 3 years, we ain't going to be having no conversation about no GOAT. Not after what we saw in the Super Bowl. Now, we all know that the destruction that we witnessed was primarily due to the absence of an offensive line that simply didn't show up and had, Patrick Mahomes being suffocated all night long, tap dancing in the pocket like the late, great Gregory Hines, for crying out loud, feeling like he was getting blitzed every time where there wasn't a single blitz coming his way for the entire game. But nevertheless, and I'm going to go to Shannon on this, Shannon has been, when it talks to Joe Burrow and others, talked about turnovers. You talked about protecting the football. You also talked about moments. Well, let's talk about these moments with Patrick Mahomes. He's won 3 Super Bowls. He's a 3-time Super Bowl MVP. Fair enough. And we know he's the best in the game today. There's nothing to debate about that. There's something else that comes with it, too. his performance in those 2 Super Bowl losses. Do you know he's been outscored by 40 points? Do you know his numbers are 5 turnovers, 8 sacks, and 0 touchdowns in those 2 Super Bowl losses? Do you really, I mean, I'm talking about before, obviously before the fourth quarter arrived. This is how bad it was. It's an annihilation. You talk about an ass kicking. We're talking about Tom Brady losing 3 Super Bowls by a grand total of 15 points. You're talking about the ability of a quarterback to sort of alleviate the damage to some degree. Okay, they got a superior team. Okay, they're pressuring me. All right, we got to run the football more. We've got to diversify what we're going to throw at the opposition. We got to get some first downs here. We got to keep those brothers off the field. We've got to do something to mitigate the kind of punishment that's coming our way. Tom Brady, even in losses, was able to do that to some degree. In other words, keep you in the game. Not get blown out, not look completely demoralized by the first quarter, not be completely obliterated and annihilated. We got to point to those things. And I'm looking at it, Shannon, and what you may have said about Joe Burrow, any quarterback for that matter, in terms of protecting the ball. I'm looking at other people talk about GOAT status and the kind of things that come with it. I'm looking at what we're asking for from a quarterback when all the odds are stacked against them, just to keep you in it, as opposed to looking punked like they did by the first, I'm talking collectively, by the first quarter. That's what we saw. You don't get to sit up there and see all of that, especially from the great Patrick Mahomes, and ignore that reality. You can't do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the only conversation that he would take a step back is in the GOAT conversation. And
that's all I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And I said that on Get Up this morning. I think the biggest thing for me was if you do three-peat, there's something that no one has done, right? I mean, and that to me sets you in a different category. Now, is it put you over the top of Tom Brady? Everybody's going to have different arguments. I didn't really care, but it will give you something that differentiated you from Tom Brady. At this point where you're sitting now, it's chasing the ultimate, the total number. And you think, and then Tom Brady went through a 10-year stretch about where Patrick Mahomes is. He loses 2 Super Bowls to the Giants, and it takes him 10 years to get the next win. That's a long period of time. I will say this about the Mahomes thing. It was a culmination of everything. Their offensive line played really bad. Their game plan was malpractice.
Sure.
11 runs. They weren't even 11, y'all. It was like 7. The 4, I think they gave to Mahomes. But it was they didn't help their offensive line at all. They just let them get more embarrassed and Mahomes get embarrassed. But to your point, Steve, I think the best point you brought up was when the game was when it was 10-0 and they get the ball back, like that's when you needed a drive. Even when it was 17-0 and you have a chance to score and then come back in the second half and double up, it could go 17-14. But instead, you turn it over, they score again. And like you said, at that point, the game is pretty much over because the style that the Eagles play, it just made it made it look really bad.
Well, remember in the first half, before I give it back to you, Shannon, in the first half, he threw a pick 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In the first half, he followed that up by throwing another interception at his own 14-yard line.
Right.
And in the first half, 23 total net yards, 1 first down, and a QBR of 1. 1? Come on, y'all. I mean, listen, I love him. I love him. He's the best in the business. I think that he'll win more Super Bowls, no doubt about it. But in terms of taking a step back, the step back is we're not going to have a conversation about the GOAT for the next few years. A matter of fact, a person was added to the equation because of how awful Patrick Mahomes was this past Sunday. Joe Montana, 4-0. 11 touchdowns, not a single turnover, a passer rating of 127 in 4 Super Bowl appearances.